All right,
Alrighty.
all
All
right.
right, all right.
We are
Yes.
back here at Song of the Day, coming to you from the Rock Cave. I'm your host, Mark Pierce, and we are with Frank Sassano.
Sassano.
Back in the cave, haven't seen you since the great cave takeover that you and Paul and Michael did.
Yes.
Good job
That was fun.
there. Yeah, that was fun.
A lot of fun.
You and I have been in touch. I'm in touch with you separately. I'm in touch with Michael separately, Paul separately. We're always talking, trying to figure out what to do next. Michael, as I just told you, Michael and I are going to do a redo of an episode due to technological failures on my part. I don't know how they're going to all launch, but we'll get there. We're in familiar territory here with you, and we've been going back and forth a lot. We had some themes, we had different ideas.
Yeah.
There's always more stuff to come from us. And then finally, I think you mentioned this, and I was like, "All right, this is a good idea because I don't know a lot about this record, but I love this band." And I'm like, "Let's do this. You're the expert. I'm going to listen to the album like many times, and we're going to talk about it without talking about it first, right?" So, what are we talking about today, Frank?
We were talking about the Cars' third album, Panorama. So you had the debut, Candio, debut at 78, Candio 79, Panorama at 80. When bands would put out an album every year,
Right?
right?
Yeah, because they were like
Yeah.
35 to 40 minutes long, not an hour and a half epic things that took years to record.
I mean, Van Halen, 78 debut, Van Halen 2,
Yes, right.
79, Women and Children, 80. Fair Warning, 81, Shake It Up, 81. Four albums, 4 years, both bands. I think the Police probably did the
Yeah,
same. So,
absolutely. Yeah, when I bought the Van Halen remasters on CD, I remember putting them in for the first time and then seeing like 38-minute total album and being
yeah,
like, "What?" Like, yeah,
yeah.
right.
Well,
Yeah, that's right.
you're doing one a year.
Yeah, that's right.
You can't do a 50-minute,
Right,
60.
right. It's funny. So the
Mhm.
cars, we love the cars. You love the cars. I love
Love
the
the Cars.
cars. We've been over the cars a lot. The debut, 78, we both agree, perfect record, perfect debut. I've talked about it plenty. A unicorn as far as records are concerned because it was a debut that brought together classic rock people, art rock people, punk people, like the new wave people. Like
Yeah,
everybody loved this record. I mean, it was just out of this world, right? And they're a Boston band, and they broke through. Um, Amazing record, right? So uh, there were people in their lives who, when they were at the Boston band trying to figure stuff out, they were like, you guys aren't going to make it. Nope, nothing, not happening." And then this comes out and it's huge. And then Candio comes out, and the critics didn't really love Candio. We love Candio. We're huge Candio fans. But Rolling Stone called it predictable, disciplined. Um, just about a girl, like mostly about a girl. They were down on this record, but yet you and I love this record, and it's up there with the most played entire album that I play next to Pink Floyd Animals. It's those two, right?
yeah. I wore out the debut album. I mean, look, it's a perfect album. It's good time. It starts out right out of the gate. Good times roll, best friends girl, just what I needed. I mean, like on a debut album, how can you have three better songs in a row, one, two, three, just out of the gate like that? It's I have to think about it. Maybe,
Maybe
Van Halen one
Boston.
might, there might be others that compete. Usually people talk about best opening song on a debut album, Doors, Break On Through, whatever. But three, like bang, 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 like that, amazing. And then,
What was Boston's debut? Boston's debut was
oh God,
might have been that. What's up with
yeah,
Boston
my
fans with their perfect debuts? But anyway, yeah.
yeah, but like that review is shocking to me. So the debut, six times platinum, like you said, attracted classic rock, all kinds of folks. And that was kind of 77, 78 was sort of synth was being meshed with classic rock to create this sort of new wave sound. And the new wave bands had this different techno attitude to them out of the post-punk era. So, Talking Heads, Devo, and like B-52s. But I think it's a perfect album. Candio, if the debut is perfect, Candio is flawless or perfect plus. I mean,
And
and that went 4 times platinum. So
yeah, and you know what the critics said about that? In other words, they used chilly, passionless. Like what? Now, listen, first of all, I'm the first one to say growing up, I had a subscription to Rolling Stone magazine from the time I was 16 till I was 26. And most of the time, if a critic we gave it 4 stars, I hated it. And if it was a 2 star, I was like, I bought it. So to be fair, but
right,
um
looking for the 1 star. And
I
I'll
don't know
buy it.
why people didn't like it. I don't know, but I remember in the mid to late, I remember in the mid to late 80s playing Candio cassettes in my car from beginning to end, driving at night with just that
Yeah,
playing, and it was like pure heaven. There's
yeah,
something
yeah.
about that record that's
It's
different. It's different than one. It's like one long, just like smooth, awesome record. I can't explain it. It's so good.
yeah,
So
yeah,
yeah.
yeah. And maybe I can kind of see where critics might have looked at it and go, "Oh, this is just the Cars too." It's somewhat similar. There's some oddly similar things about the two albums. Like at one point in the Cars debut, you have what Bye Bye Love, um,
Moving in
what
stereo.
moving in stereo and all mixed up, and they all kind of run into each other 3 songs in a row. And you have the same thing with Double Life, Shooby Doo, and Candio at the end of a side, all running. You're like, why did they do that again? But it was a part
Hard.
of the form.
And it's hard to make that a single when it goes right in like that. It's
Yeah.
hard to make that a single. All right,
But then,
so August 15th, 1980, they put out Panorama. It's got the same producer of the first 2 albums. It's exactly 1 year before MTV comes out by about, it's give or take 2 weeks. And the critics really hated this record. I mean, this was
yeah,
as much as they didn't like Candio, this record, one of the critics said, "What happened to these guys?" Uh, there was a local Boston like critic that was hugely supportive of them, that was basically like that said, "This is an out and out drag. This new model is a lemon." That's a local critic. And when I looked at the interview about this, Rick Ocasek was like, "You know what? We were so annoyed with people that hated us at the start, loved us after the first record, and then hated us here. They wanted this from us, and suddenly expected that. And what kind of band are we? And we're just doing our thing, right?" So this record is different. It's
it is different.
avant-garde, minimalistic art rock. I mean, this is
Experimental.
a tough record, and you love
Yeah.
this record. So I'm going to let you talk about this record a little bit first, because I want you to sell the people on this record a little bit,
Yeah.
and then I'm going to talk about a little more about my reaction to it. So I want you to take over.
So I think those reviews maybe had an impact, right? Because they were like, well, we can't do that Candio again. We can't do the Cars debut again, or we're just going to get raked over the coals. So they wanted, I think they purposely did something that was a little moodier, a little edgier, a little darker. Even the albums, right? Like the album art, right? You have, women on the first 2 albums, right? And they're kind of it's red, white, black, gray, like but some bright colors. And then they come out with the all blue and white and black panorama with just a flag on it, right? No women, nothing. I don't know what that flag means. Are they waving the white flag? It was a checkered flag, so I don't know. But they obviously wanted to do something different, and that is plain from the first song right out of the gate, the title track, Panorama. which to me, and when this album came out, August 1980, I was 15. I had the first two albums. I was looking forward to this thing so much. I was like waiting for it to hit the record stores. I probably got it the week it came out. Went home, tore the plastic off, put it on the turntable, and I sat and after every song I listened to, I put a little blue dot next to the song to indicate the ones I liked. And I'm looking at this and I'm going, well, there's only six blue dots here out of 10 songs. So at the time, I must not have been crazy about it. But
No,
the more I played it, the more it kind of grew on me. And it's an acquired taste. I mean, I recommend everybody listen to it, but if you're looking for the Cars debut or Candio, that's not what you're going to get.
no.
It's not what you're going to get. Because
All
the
right.
first song out is almost 6 minutes long. And there's no, how many car songs are over 5 minutes? I think there's maybe three or four.
Right.
It's almost proggy, that first song, with some of the extended musical interludes, particularly at the end. It kind of goes on and on, but it's interesting. I mean, it's different.
Yeah.
The sound
So,
effects.
so some of the things I read that the people were writing, like we're talking about, it's like uh just it's tough on the ears, like caustic, like not no rhyme or reason or whatever. And I don't know where to start, but first of all, the song Touch and Go was on like their greatest hits and stuff, and they did play it on the radio. And as a teenager, I hated the song. I didn't, I Touch and Go was tough for me. I was like, it's got this country riff to it, but is it classic rock? What is it? So, I mean, it's grown on me over the years for sure, and I'm okay with it now. But at the time, I was like, this, so I didn't want to listen to this album based on the song Touch and Go. And so, I mean, I never owned the record. I
Yeah,
never had it. And so then I play this record, and I forget, it might be Panorama, but I think it's Panorama or Give Me Some Slack. I'm not sure. But as soon as I was listening to it, I was like, I know why Frank loves this record. This is Devo.
yeah, it
This is
is.
Devo. I was like, this is Devo. I was like, the
It's
the
very
the way the music goes like this and the
it's
vocals
herky jerky.
turkey jerky stuff. I was like, Frank loves Devo. That's why he loves this record. This is like same stuff at the same time. And
Yeah.
Devo was out there. They were out there at the time, right? Tell me if I'm wrong, but this is
Oh no,
very much sounds like a Devo a musical record of Devo at
yeah,
times.
but not the weird debut, right? With Are We Not Men and
Oh,
Satisfaction. That
later, like it's yeah,
way out there.
yeah.
But it's not Freedom of Choice either. Freedom of Choice is pretty poppy. It's the album after that came out in 1981, the year after Panorama, New Traditionalists, that this album sounds a lot
So
like.
maybe Devo
Um,
listened to this record and was like, we like what they're doing, but
well, and it was kind of similar because after Freedom of Choice came out, Devo was like through being cool, right? That was a big hit and they were uncomfortable with that. And they did something. It's a blue album, just like this one. It's a little bit darker, a little moodier, a little edgier, a bit guitar forward, and I think they're very similar. I think you nailed it on the head. Yeah,
I just cracked up because I was like, I know why Frank likes this record.
yeah. And so, "Touch and Go" is an interesting song. I read about it. You have that weird kind of keyboard, right, going, but then it has at some point guitars that sound very sort of rockabilly in a
Yeah, it's like a
way.
country, it's like a country thing to it. Like it's yeah,
Yeah, it's got
yeah,
kind of that horse
yeah, right.
galloping
Yeah.
beat to it. And then at some point on the Touch and Go, it's got a very tremolo sort of guitar part there. But I'll say this, that what gets lost in that song is Elliot Easton's solo. I think it's fantastic. I think it's really, really strong. And the thing I read about Touch and Go was I think it's the drums and the keyboards are in 5/4 time and everybody else is in 4/4. So you have this dissonance between
Right.
the two time signatures going on. And that's why it sounds so herky jerky. It's just
Maybe
an odd juxtaposition.
right. Maybe that's what I was picking up on all those years ago.
Yeah.
So then we got Give Me Some Slack.
Love that. I think it's a. You know what else it sounds like? Do you know She's So Cold from the Stones
Yeah, yeah.
off of Emotional Rescue, which came out 2 months before this record? That sort of da 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 da. Yeah, that guitar beat is very similar to the one in She's So Cold in the background. But I love Give Me Some Slack. It's also got some great keyboard sort of inserts. And there's like this call and response between the keyboard and Elliot Easton on guitar. And some interesting lyrics in that one too. I don't know what it's about.
Right.
But there is a verse where he it seems like they're talking about maybe people that are just living in sort of an impoverished area. You know, got a 7 foot walk up, musty odor cracks. Rico Cassak's lyrics sometimes are like you don't know what he's saying, but it sounds cool to say it.
Right.
You know, it's
Yeah.
just the words flow, and you're just like, yeah, I don't know what that means, but it's really great to say. You know,
So the first song that I was like, oh, I like this one, and this sounds like a Cars song almost. It was Don't Tell Me No.
yeah, yeah. That one had some radio airplay. That also has a pretty good, strong guitar in it. And but it doesn't soar, right? It's just sort of plodding, pulsing,
Takes you
you
back
know,
to
song.
it's a little bit
Yeah,
leaning towards their earlier stuff, which may be why I liked it.
yeah. But you notice so far in all of these songs, no hand claps, right? So
Right.
that was something they were really known for, especially on the debut, which
Yeah.
hand claps is a very happy sound.
Yeah, right.
There's no hand claps
Need
in
to know.
Panorama. There's zero.
Misfit Kid.
Well, there's one song before
Oh,
that, Getting Through.
oh
I
yeah.
don't So Getting Through is a pretty hard rocker. And the unique thing about Getting Through is, have you ever heard Rick Ocasek scream?
No.
There's a point in the song, very short, where he actually screams the lyrics, "Am I getting through?" And it's the only time I've ever heard in a car song somebody go up and actually scream a lyric.
Maybe,
Different.
maybe that was his frustration with all the critics and being famous and not wanting to be or confused about being famous and that kind of stuff.
Yeah, and I do think a lot of the songs in this are about relationships. Like obviously, "Don't Tell Me No," "Touch and Go," um, and I think "Getting Through" is as well. Um, there's some lines in there that I find really interesting. He must be talking about somebody, and I'm thinking maybe it's somebody in the band that creatively that he just has a difference with. So the lines are, I don't want to be your suffering box, argue art, or untie all those knots. And you get the sense of, okay, there's some frustration there. Like maybe somebody didn't like the album or what he was bringing, and he just didn't want to, argue with them, right? And it's like, we have our creative differences, uh, you know, and then he says, I don't want to be your bad connection or fit into your reality vision. And most people would read those lines, go, I don't know what that means, but I think he's talking about something creative that was going on,
And
perhaps.
one of those songs we already talked about, I think, starts off with "I don't want to be your party doll," right? Like, I'm not
Yeah,
sure.
yeah, that's it. The getting through. Yeah, I don't want to be your party
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
doll.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So I like that song. I find like that side, other than Panorama, from Touch and Go to Getting Through, I like. I do like. And in particular, I like Give Me Some Slack a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can see where you'd say it's very Devo sounding too.
So then you turn the record over, and what you got?
Yeah. So Misfit Kid,
Yeah.
it's not a song I think about too much. It's okay. You know, I don't know what you thought about it, but I mean, it's accessible. It's one
I
of
thought it
those
was,
songs
I
that
thought
I
it was
could see
fine.
being on the
Didn't bother
radio.
me. Yeah, I
Yeah.
thought it was all right. Yeah, I like that.
Um, Down Boys, I
Down
love.
Boys. Yeah, Down Boys got that one got my attention. Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah, and that one has the kind of some strange, interjections of Greg Hawk's,
right.
keyboards. Um, but it's the way Ben Orr sings that song that is surprising to me. Um, Ben Orr usually doesn't have, and or Kasich, a lot of emoting in the way they sing, or maybe more than Kasich is pretty bland in his singing. But here he's almost snarling, like
Yeah,
you
right,
can't make it with the down, almost laughing at the person he's saying you can't make it with the down boys.
right.
Stay out of their way. Like there's some points where he's just really emoting in the song, and I find it interesting. I like that a lot.
I think it's their mad record about their experience up to that date, about critics and people who supported them and then didn't, or the pressures of putting out whatever. I mean, who knows, right?
Yeah, yeah, no, I would agree. Then You Wear Those Eyes, very slow
Yeah,
song, again with the Devo-ish keyboard and drum, and maybe they're electronic drums, I'm not sure. Some kind of drum machine, perhaps. I know there was a point where they were using, like everybody else, more drum machines, and I think David Robinson was getting frustrated with that. But it's an okay song. I like the last two, "Running to You"
yeah,
and "Up and Down." I think those are more rock oriented.
yeah.
Yeah.
So
So, but overall, I mean, when I first heard it, I only liked six of them. I think I've upped it to eight, and maybe there's two songs like the Panorama and You Wear Those Eyes that I'm like, oh, they're okay, but the rest I enjoy.
I know they played Touch and Go on the radio, but you're saying did they
Oh
play,
yeah,
what else did they play on the radio? They played,
I remember hearing at the time "Don't Tell Me No"
okay,
when it came out after, and as soon as it appeared on the radio, it sort of disappeared. And I was a little disappointed because I really liked the song a lot. Um, I was like, what happened to it? I don't know. I don't even think it charted.
right.
Yeah.
One critic said avant-garde minimalism.
Yeah. I could see that on this record. I could definitely see that. Um, but
So,
I think it's really good. I mean, is it at the level of the first two? No. No, it's
right,
not.
right.
But is it an underappreciated album? I think so.
Sure, I agree. So after this, they put out Shake It Up in 81. That gets even kind of similar, not so great reviews other than Shake It Up, which was a great song. Same thing. Then there's a little bit of a break, and they hire Mutt Lang to produce Heartbeat
Heartbeats
to You. And
right
that
there.
was like, yeah, pure magic. You notice what I did there, but
You
uh
Might Think,
yeah,
Drive. That's
Drive.
an amazing album.
Right?
Really.
Yeah,
That,
and It's Not the Night is like my all-time favorite deep cut from the Cars that people should just know about. Like It's Not
yeah.
is like amazing.
I know, I totally agree. That was a huge comeback album. Thinking about it, when Paul and I did the comeback album thing, I didn't even think of that one, but I mean, you're right. They kind of got panned a few albums in a row, and then they came out huge with that.
Yeah, I mean,
So
think about it,
I
78,
agree with you.
79, 80, 81. They put out four records in 4 years, each one getting like first one amazing, second one critics, what's happening here? Third one, what happened to them? Also poor reviews on that fourth one. And then a little bit of time goes by. They wait 3 years, get a new producer, and it's Mutt Lang, who is legendary.
Yeah.
They put out like just a perfect, great rebound record of
I think it's a perfect album as well.
yeah,
I think it's phenomenal. But
amazing
the funny thing is,
and so different.
Panorama went platinum eventually.
Yeah, I mean, do people just buy? I mean, is this like the effect of buying a record based on the prior record? How does that?
Probably. Yeah.
I
I
mean,
think everybody, like me, there were a lot of Cars fans out there, and it came out, they probably sold big in the first week or two.
I didn't
And
read where it charted at. Where I don't even I guess I didn't look. I don't know how high it charted.
the album itself, yeah, I didn't look how high it got. I'm certain it didn't make top 10. I
Right.
mean,
I mean, if
it,
you think about it, that was a time where you had to buy the album or you just didn't know what songs were on it. I mean, if they're only playing Touch and Go on
right.
the radio, you were buying their next record based on their debut and Candio.
Yeah. And I'm glad you brought up Shake It Up because I think when the song Shake It Up came out, I was like, ooh, they went back really poppy. And I was afraid to buy the album. And it was
Right.
the only one I didn't buy.
Right. Makes sense.
Um, well, I didn't buy door to door either, but by 87, or yeah,
Yeah, right.
car pretty much wrapping up.
Right.
But I did buy the 2011 album, the other comeback, Move Like This. I do like it. And it seems like a logical next album.
Okay.
I might be one to just try. It's pretty good.
Right.
No Ben Orr though. No
Right.
Ben Orr.
Right. Which I can't talk about the cards without talking about Sarah and the day a dozen years ago where we were playing something came on from the Cars and we were talking about the Cars or maybe it was when Ben Orr died or something and I said to her something and she was like, "Wait, what?" And I was like, "Well, I mean, he sang all a ton of their great songs." And she's like, "What are you talking about?" It's Rick Ocasek sang all their songs. And I was like, "No, he didn't. He sang," and she was like, she fell over in her chair. She's like, "What are you talking about? There's a different person that sang these songs or whatever." Which which is fair, right? Because not everyone's paying attention. But then when she goes back and says all the Cars songs she loves, it's all the videos with Rick Ocasek singing the songs. So to be fair, all she knew was, Magic and all these other ones that he was singing, and you might
Yeah,
think
yeah.
whatever. But really, I mean, the songs she loved from earlier were Benjamin Orr, but she just didn't think about it. But it's just funny
Their
because,
voices are so close,
yeah,
it's
that's
hard
right. Yeah, that's
hard
right.
to discern. I
Yeah,
think Ward is just a slight bit lower, but
right.
both excellent. Yeah, that always was troubling, and I still can't remember to this day who sings. Well, I should know, but
Yeah,
I
especially the debut. You look at the debut and you're like, who sings what?
and it's like 50-50 on the
All
first
right.
two albums.
Yeah,
This one,
absolutely.
I think, Or only sang 4 out of 10,
Yeah.
but yeah.
All right. So, what's your song of the day if you were going to pick a song of the day from Panorama?
Um, I would say, well, I was gonna go between Give Me Some Slack, Don't Tell Me No, or Down Boys. Now, I don't want to pick the same one as you, and I think people will recognize Don't Tell Me No. They probably don't know Give Me Some Slack, so I'm gonna go with that one. Plus, it's the Devo sounding.
Yeah. Okay. That's fair. And I put a little dot next to uh, Down Boys and Don't Tell Me No, and I'm going to go with Don't Tell Me No.
Okay, great, excellent. Yeah, no, I think those are probably the two best choices on the record.
Right.
And I do encourage people to listen to it because, with that context of them having to live up to, selling 10 times platinum their first two albums, that's a hard thing to live up to.
The other,
So
the other funny thing, I mean, the interesting thing for me about music and all through this whole journey is I love hearing new music and finding music and appreciating new songs. But it does remind me just how much nostalgia plays into music because for me, when I think about Candio as a record, it's because, as I mentioned, when I first heard that, like I just remember being into this, I had the cassette. I go to my mom's in Rhode Island. I'm in college, and she's like, she got a brand new Mustang, like an '88 5.0, whatever. She's like, take my car, and I got this Candy C cassette, and I'm by myself, and I just put it in there, and I just drove around, Warwick, Rhode Island, not knowing anyone,
it,
but just playing that from beginning to end at night, like, like a Miami Vice scene, like just you know, but that's what music was to me, and like so that record has stayed with me all this time. And so for you, this record has been with you for a long time, like right.
yeah,
So
yeah,
like
yeah.
it's like
What? 45 years.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right. And so I just find that so interesting and what the connect people's connection with music because a percentage of the likeness of a record has to do with time, place, memories, as well as the music itself.
Yeah. I mean, I think for me, the Cars were sort of, I gravitated to them because this was 78. Disco was the biggest. I mean, you had Saturday Night Fever. It was just the
Right.
biggest thing dominating the radio. And then you had these new bands come out in 78 that just, they weren't like the 70s pop. They weren't acid rock. They weren't hard rock. They were different. It wasn't punk. It was different. And it just was new and fresh. And I was okay, something's saving me from disco. Like
Right.
I have an alternative here to go to.
Right.
And I just gobbled it up, you
Nice.
know,
All right. Love it.
loved it.
All
Still
right.
do.
Yeah. All right, Frank, I'm glad we finally got to a topic that we could talk about, and I'm excited that it was a record that I had to go listen to. I don't do that a lot here in the cave, so I appreciate that. And I love that it's a band that I love and reading about it and going back and stuff, so this was fun.
Yeah, yeah, no, this is a lot of fun. I mean, sometimes I think it had been a long time since I played it.
Yeah,
Um, you know, I think during COVID I played it because I was like just during COVID you're looking for something to do. I'm like, I haven't played this album in a long time. I've never played this album. You're just working from home and just
right.
going through the music catalog. And then so it'd been a while since I heard it and played it a couple times. I'm like, yeah, I don't remember now why I like it.
Nice. All
So
right,
I got to
people.
get my OCASIC glasses on for
Oh,
this.
perfect. All right. All right, people, you're listening to the Cars today. You're listening to some Panorama. Dig that one up and give it a listen and tell us what you think. Frank, as always, thanks so much for being on, and we'll come up with some more topics.
Thank you, sir. Yeah, I think this one fits into the Black Sheep albums topic. Maybe that's something we can look at in the
Uh,
future, right?
yeah,
But
absolutely.
no, it was fun doing this.
All right. All right, people, whatever you're doing today, I hope it involves music. You're taking out with me, Frank, and as usual, we'll catch
Catch you
you
on the flip side.
outside.
You